Hey, Clifford, thanks for coming and giving us a little bit of your story. So I run into you at church and you're dragging an oxygen bottle around. I knew you had been in the hospital with COVID. Tell me what happened.
Well, I tested positive for COVID pneumonia January the 15th of 22, and I was hospitalized on January the 20th. I spent 57 days in the hospital, and then I was sent to a nursing home for 3 weeks, and then back to the heart hospital for 3 days after that, and then they sent me home on oxygen after that, and I stayed on oxygen until I started doing the hyperbaric chamber.
Well, when I walked up to you in church, you were like, "Oh, I've been meaning to call you." And I said, "Hey, I didn't call you for a reason while you were in the hospital, because number one, I couldn't do anything to help you. And number two, if you're like me, you didn't want that phone call." So when I got to see you at church, I invited you to come do hyperbarics because we've had such success doing post-COVID, and in your case, COVID pneumonia. And the first thing that we did when you walked in is we used a peak flow meter, and we'll throw some charts up here in a minute. But that peak flow meter is a very inexpensive device you can buy at CVS for about 30 bucks. And when you blow into it, you blow 3 times and you take your highest score, and it's got an app that comes with it, and you mark that data. So we went over that, and you're taking a bunch of data of other kinds, but that's the biggest one I can use here to show immediate success, and it's your peak flow, it's your volume of air in your lungs. So the first time you came in and blew that, it was a 160.
160.
Then a 180 on your second blow.
180.
And then you blew all the way up to 200.
Yay, 200.
Yeah, so that's what we marked down on that first session. You got into the chamber, and when you got out, you blew on it again. You blew a 300.
375, I think.
Well, it's 300.
Was it?
Yeah, it was 300. And
Okay.
then what happened, I said, now remember, you're going to be healing during the course of the day today. This doesn't stop just because you get out of the chamber. And that night, you blew on it again, blew a 350. So I think that kind of surprised you that the benefit was so immediate. And again, we'll throw that chart up here in a minute to show your progress as you were doing sessions, and I'll throw some numbers up, how many sessions you did to accomplish those goals. But what is your thought about doing hyperbarics? What would you tell somebody about what this did?
Well, I know it helped me. I come in here, like you said, blowing 200, and then within 2 days I was in the 500 range already. So I know for a fact it helped me. It got me off of oxygen.
Your doctors told you you might not come off oxygen for a year if
Ever.
you came off of it.
If ever. That's exactly right.
Isn't that crazy that in a week, I knew you were having problems with your oxygen, people, and in a week you came off your oxygen.
I was
and
off of it.
Hadn't looked back. There's another test that I want you to tell people about that your doctors will do. It's called a 6-minute test. And it's where you walk on a flat surface, typically in a hallway or within a building, and you'll walk for 6 minutes while you're monitoring a pulse oximeter on your finger, and you mark those data points. Was that every 30 seconds, or was it by minute, or did you just watch it that it didn't drop to a dangerous level?
You just watch it as you're walking, and if you can walk 6 minutes, you go a full 6 minutes. If not, if your oxygen gets too low, you shut down the rest and let your oxygen build back up. But
What was that threshold that they asked you to stop?
Well, it's at 89, 88, 89 is where they want you to stop at.
Because you were telling me that there were times that you were out doing something and you got down in the 60s.
60s and 70s.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
And that's pass out time.
Yes.
Okay.
And I can walk 2 miles now and it stays at 90, 91.
Isn't that awesome?
Just because of this chamber.
Well, that's awesome. And that's what people don't realize, what this can do to benefit. We've had so many people come in post-COVID, and I appreciate you taking the time that we can tell people what this will do. Is there anything that we haven't covered as far as how you bounce back? Oh,
well,
congrats.
Yeah.
When we first started talking, you said, well, hey, how do we do this? And I said, we'll talk about that when you go back to work. And you kind of chuckled. And what are you doing tomorrow?
I'm going back to work.
Isn't that cool? Congratulations. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you giving us a little insight. Anything else that I haven't covered?
Well, I just wanted to mention when I went in the hospital, I also had a hole in my lung.
That's right.
And 2 forms of infection and 2 forms of malnutrition. And the doctors, my heart doctor, my primary doctor, my pulmonologist, all said I didn't need to do hyperbarics, that I was getting plenty of oxygen I needed on oxygen tank. Well, this proves them wrong. That's because I would have probably still been on oxygen tank till no telling when. And as soon as I've done this, I come off oxygen almost immediately.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate you throwing that out there. If you have a doctor that doesn't understand hyperbarics, unfortunately, you just kind of have to go around them, do some research on your own, give us a call. I mean, this is absolutely. How invasive was doing hyperbarics outside of some of the people you had to dive with? Because it is a hoot in here. It's almost a party, isn't it?
It's a party. You sit in here and listen to everybody's stories, and everybody has a story, and this has helped everybody that I've seen that's come into this chamber. You sit in here and chew bubble gum and talk, and that's about it. And it's not claustrophobic or anything. It's real nice. It's a good place to be.
Well, thank you again, and look forward to seeing you at church on Sunday. Good luck going back to work tomorrow.
Thank you for
Awesome.
having me.
Thank you.
Thank you for helping me.